Okay, good. So I'm going to just turn on the PowerPoint. Okay, can everyone see the PowerPoint?
Here it is.
Yes.
Oh, I just turned it off. Okay, so you can see it. Bruce, you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, here we go. All right, so basically what we're doing here is that we're doing a webinar, and it's basically to get everybody ready for the season, which starts on the 10th, September 10th.
Before you start, somebody's got music on, and it keeps flashing back and forth.
Yeah, I don't hear it on my end.
Does anybody else hear the music?
Jill and Brian don't.
No, I hear somebody doing dishes. But if you just click on your face, people, you can mute and unmute yourself. So that's probably the best way. Everyone just go in mute mode.
Okay, so hopefully this will work. I used to use a different program, and then Hangouts changed over to YouTube, so it's been a little bit of a struggle. But anyway, I apologize. Okay, here we go. So basically, what we're going to be talking about, unless people have some other thoughts, and I will write them down, is basically the Cal South ID cards, the passes, and the rosters, Coast Soccer League, the Fall League, the match reports, the referee fees, and the game day suggestions, and how do you report scores. So anybody have anything else that they want covered in this webinar? Okay, I will continue. If anything comes up on the slide we're on, that's best to talk about it then. Because it's... Anyway, I don't want to go over the details of this, but this is the same slide we use over and over again, who to call, and 98% of the PSC people are calling the right people, which is really good. The things you're going to get into now is the fields. That's the most important part. So if there's any kind of game day fields, Bruce is your contact. And then if there's anything with practice fields, which also may come into play, you want to talk to your regional RC or the regional coach administrator. So that's what normally happens at this time of year. And then anything with uniforms, Soccer Locos first, Heather second. Okay, so we have web pages that you can put on Pacific Soccer Club on the actual website. And you can also put your achievements in, and this is like your resume. So if you have a picture or you want to add any accomplishments, just go to our webmaster, send it to our webmaster, and Jim will send it or post it, okay? All right, so why are you here, which is what I kind of asked in the very beginning, and then we, as in the staff of PSC, we're here to enrich our players, families, and coaches' lives. All right, so is there anything from just what I just covered, is there anything that you want to cover? And you don't have to use chat. Everyone, I think, can turn on and off voice. So anything so far? Okay, continuing. All right, so I'm going to do this for Carlos unless Carlos is at a point where he can speak. So basically, this is our fall players' fees. $350 is your club fee, $450 is your team budget. The team budget, this is where all your training money comes from. This is where your referee money comes from. This is where your tournaments would have come from. That's what this is. So you have to make sure you have your team fee in there as well. And then AYSO registration you already know about. And then the uniforms are sold separately. Okay, so basically what Carlos does is he runs payment requests on the 15th and last day of each month. Okay, and you will have your monthly statement in your Dropbox. So every month Carlos will post your statement. It'll tell you who's paid what, how much money you have left, etc. Okay, expenses, this is important right now because you're going to need to do a check request form. And the reason is that you want to get referee fees out. So basically, if you look at the line where it says 3 referees, and then this is your birth year on the top, So basically, if you're if you're one of the olders, you'll be paying $72. Each team, the home and the away team, pays $72. If you're a 2001-2 team, you'll be paying $64. A 2003-4 will be paying $56. 5-6 is $48, and a 2008-2007 is $40. Now, the youngers, you want to look at one ref, because there's many of you will see one referee at the 2005 through 2008. You'll see one referee because they're short-sighted games. So you want to make sure you have this in your folder so that you know how much to pay the referees. Okay, any questions on that? Good. Bruce, you there? Bruce?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not talking to myself. All right. Okay,
Well,
so the referee fees, what you're going to want to do is copy your CSL schedule. So CSL schedule is already up. You take that, you submit it with the check request form to Carlos. You take the quantity of games that you have for the season, and you multiply it by that referee fee. That's what you're going to get, and we call it kind of petty cash. And then if there's any games that you have to cover between now and the time that Carlos gets you the money, that's what you'll do. You'll basically have to just cover it and then reimburse yourself. Okay? All right, any questions with regard to the referee fees? Okay, moving forward. All right, so Heather's in charge of the uniforms. Basically, these are the uniforms that are approved for the field. If you go out with anything other than this, you're violating our agreement with Soccer Loco and with Adidas. And last year we had a team do that. They're no longer with us. And it puts us in jeopardy because we are under contractual agreements with Adidas and Soccer Loco. So just make sure you're playing with the whites or the blues. Okay? Okay, so any questions on the finance or uniforms?
Yes. We have some issues with the white uniforms not coming in for girls.
Mm-hmm.
Any idea when to expect them?
Not specifically, but who have you spoken to?
We've dealt with Soccer Loco primarily, and we've been told now not to expect them till the end of September.
Okay, which team is this?
This is Lake Forest Girls 2002.
And who's your coach?
Karen Falgarty.
When were they ordered?
We have uniforms from June, July, and August that are all on hold.
That's interesting.
I will say also,
Yeah.
this is Jill from the Huntington Beach team.
Uh-huh.
Getting new uniforms through Soccer Loco was the biggest headache. Hours and hours sent into it. They kept messing up the orders. We, too, didn't get our white jerseys, so we didn't have them for the 2 tournaments we had. They kept making promises and not delivering. And I will say, I just want for the record, it was a complete, absolute cluster, you know what. Very, very, very unhappy with Soccer Local in that whole process. And we still are short 3 jerseys as well.
Jill, when did you order them?
I ordered them at the beginning of June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to Heather about this?
Not Heather. I was dealing directly with Soccer Local and all their managers because everybody.
You're basically the thing to do is to get Heather, because Heather will call Adam, and Adam will like last year. It was the first year. We had a little bit of challenges because it was the first year, but this year this is the first. I mean, I've heard of one problem, but we haven't heard of many. But basically, get Heather, because Heather will go to the top, which is Adam, and he's our sales rep, and he will smooth things out. So if you're trying to work with people that don't have the access to the Adidas and whatnot, they're not going to come up with solutions for you. So like I know Karen's team, you go with the girl. Yeah.
I know I spoke with managers there because he wasn't dealing with the bottom, but even the managers, I'd be promised one thing and then something else, and the shipping was wrong, and then it was kind of piecemeal on it just was. I cannot tell you the number of hours I put in, and I was always requesting that I speak to a manager because I needed them for 2 separate tournaments, and almost really didn't have uniforms for the first tournament. We had an old set of ours that we used because they didn't get us even 1 set in time. It was.
Just so you know, the custom uniform was something that was requested and we will go away from them. They're too hard to get, and obviously, you're dealing with Adidas and you're dealing with, a couple of hundred, so it's not like it doesn't seem to be a very huge priority. Not to make any excuses, but we will definitely not go with custom uniforms in the future. So anyway, we are where we are right now. Best thing to do, my recommendation is, and it's my advice, is to call Heather. Heather will get to a higher level person, and we can go from there. So I do apologize that happened to you. Like I said, last year we had a little bumps and bruises, but everything seemed to be pretty smooth from there on. So anyway, I'll move on. I understand the frustration totally.
Lee,
But
let me just add, Lee, this is Bruce. Lee, I just want to add this, is that if anybody has any problems, don't go to the store managers. They don't know what the deal is. Call Heather, email Heather is actually the best thing. And like Lee says, we just go to the top person. So by working with the store managers is not going to get you anywhere. Let us know. We'll solve the problem for you, one way or another. Okay? Did everybody hear me? Lee?
Yeah, I heard you.
Jill, did you get that?
Let's see, am I on? I'm not muted, right? Yeah, I did get that, sorry.
Okay, and that was for everybody, too, if anybody.
Hey, Bruce, what's up with the comment about no green practice jerseys? Are you saying don't order them or don't wear them?
For games.
Oh, got it.
Not for games. I've heard that some teams are using them for games instead of, they may not have the white or they may not have the blue and they're using them for games. Those are not for games. Okay, just so everybody understands. That was the reason for it. You can use them for practice, no problem.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, so we're going to move on. So basically, this is the registrar, which is Sherry. This is kind of her area. So Cal South is the governing body. They basically handle all of the live scan, which is their security type of a thing, the risk management, and they also handle all of the ID cards. So what you need to do is make sure, if you haven't, is make sure your roster is activated. Sherry is the only person that can do it. The only way she can do it is if she has a coach or a manager that is past live scan, etc. What they call them passes, we call them ID cards. But basically, all your members, all of the players, all the coaches, admins will get ID cards. Basically, the card is good from July 1st through July 31st of 2017, so it's good for a year. August 1st, where we're at now with regard to Cal South is we're under what's called a player transfer freeze, which basically means no player may leave one team and go to another team. Okay, the only way that will happen is if there's is a consensual waiver, meaning one of your players is unhappy or whatever, and they moved or whatever, and you allow them to go to another team. So basically, the process goes like this: the parent will request it. It will then come to us as an organization. We will then go to you if a player requests it, and if you say no, we respond no, and then they have to fight it out with Cal South. So the bottom line is that it will happen. It happens every year that a player a week or 2 weeks later wants to transfer, and there is no transfers unless both parties agree, and then there's a waiver. Okay. Basically, we were at a meeting with CSL. No cards, no play. We were looking at electronic copies of it. My recommendation is it's probably not a bad idea, just in case the referee will permit it. But CSL did say they won't accept the electronic picture of a card. They need the physical cards. Just so you know, there's a lot of legality. There's a lot of lawyers that are involved in soccer now because of the concussions. So friends of mine have already been contacted about specific games. So you're just going to have to be a little bit more aware of making sure that we do everything by the book. Okay, so basically there's two things with regard to adding players. There are things called loan players and there are things called guest players. Loan players are under Cal South and CSL. There is an area where you can use loan players, but it has to be from our club. And the player has to always play up, meaning they can play up an age group or they have to play up a bracket, which means bronze to silver. Okay, if you run into a situation like that, it is on our website. It's on the CSL website. We do have to notify CSL that we are going to be using the loan player for a particular weekend. There are lots of rules that go in on it, but as players get maybe injured or if your roster falls lower, you may run into situations like that. If you're a bronze team, I don't even know if you can even bring a player in from a younger age group. I'd have to look at the specifics. But anyway, that's the lone player agreement. Okay? The next one is a guest player. A guest player is an AYSO term. We are allowed to use AYSO guest players, which means that they're already rostered on an AYSO team, like an extra team or a core team. We're allowed to use them as long as the coach has been contacted, and my recommendation is make a phone call. The player cannot have played a game in that day, and you want to get the RC's approval and the coach's approval in writing. So we just want to treat people the way we'd want to be treated. So we're going to be very upfront and honest and say, hey, we need an extra player. Do you have somebody? And then work with the coaches in the extra program. They can really be good friends and allies for you. Players on other club teams are not permitted to play with PSC teams at all during the fall season and League Cup. And I'll go more into League Cup. Okay? Any questions on lone players or guest players? Okay, I'm moving forward. Okay, so now this is my area. So basically, this is our calendar. CSL has their own roster finalization, which is right before the season. And I'll have a picture of what we're looking at here, but there's a roster on the CSL manager site. You have to make sure all the players are there, their uniform numbers are there, and their CalSouth ID numbers. And I'll show you a picture. September 10th is when the Fall League begins. That doesn't mean you actually have a game. It just is when it starts. September 16th is when you can start signing up for League Cup. League Cup is like it's a very, very cool tournament that occurs during the season, and it's basically similar in the English world as the Champions League. So basically, actually it's more like the FA Cup. All of the teams in CSL start to play. So you'll play maybe a couple of bronze teams, maybe a silver team in the first round, and if you advance, you keep advancing to higher level teams. So you could eventually end up playing silver, elite, and even gold teams. It's not normal, but it can happen. Basically, the signups will be under coastsoccer.com and the manager, where you go for the manager. The 30th is when the deadline occurs. Just because you're in CSL does not mean you are going to be in League Cup. You have to physically sign up for League Cup. Okay? October, November is when League Cups will be played. I'll have another slide right after and more specifics. November, depending on your age group, is when the league ends. The youngers will end later than the olders. And then the last thing you'll do as part of this team, the current team, is you have the opportunity to play in State Cup, and we'll provide information later about State Cup. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the specific dates, but these are the dates, and this will be available to you. These are the League Cup play dates. They are not on your schedule. They won't be added until CSL knows who wants to play, and what fields are available. So if anybody does have a field, and it has to be a full field, okay, nobody playing on it, a full field. They won't do one team, one game. It's got to be a full field that's available to them. You can have local games, but you can't do it in the last minute. We won't submit it in the last minute. We'll send out an email saying, hey, this is an opportunity, and we'll give you a deadline, and if we meet the deadline, then it's over. Okay, any questions with regard to the calendar there? Okay. All right, so basically there's a whole campaign right now with regard to safety through USS Soccer. And it's called Recognize to Recover. So it has to deal with concussions and head injuries, cardiac safety, and then heat-related illnesses. So you want, as team managers, as coaches, you want to make sure that you're very aware of these new requirements. And this is the first year. We've always had them, but this is the first year that it's really up front, and that has to do a lot with the lawsuit that US Soccer, AYSO, and other youth organizations were involved with this year. We just so you know, we still do not know what the ruling is with regard to heading on the lower ages. As soon as we find out, we will communicate that to you. Okay, any questions on anything we covered? Okay. All right, so basically this is the tab you want to be looking at. So it's specific pacificsc.org, team management, fall league requirements. So in here is everything basically having to do with how do you kick off your season. So I'm going to take you through it. Okay, first of all, obviously we're with Coast Soccer League, and that's their website. These are the age divisions and what you're playing as far as 11v11, 9v9, what size ball, and how many minutes your players are going to be playing their games at. And then the roster sizes and then the fields. Okay? And again, you'll have access to this, so you should already know this anyway. Okay, they refer to the team admin menu, and that's basically the Coast Soccer manager. And that's what when you see team admin menu, it's the same one you went on that you basically listed your players and you put their IDs in and everything. So this is our teams right now, and the important thing is the name of the admin. So for example, these have to be correct, otherwise the next things aren't going to work very well. Okay, so you can find yours pretty quickly. So those are the names, and you need to have the name spelled exactly like this when we're going to go to the next slides. All right, so this is the player list, and this is in CSL Manager. August 6th, again, is that the player list needs to be updated. So in this particular case, we have the names, we have the ID numbers, and they're all there. If this roster is full, we're all good. But you have to have the CalSouth ID numbers, you have to have the coach and the team administrator, uniform numbers, etc. So you want to make sure this is completely filled out by August 6th. I'm sorry, it's September 6th. It's September 6th.
Okay. Hey Lee, this is Catherine Prancevic. How do I confirm my CalSouth ID numbers?
The roster, it should be in your Dropbox. The roster that Sherry provided will be in your Dropbox. That's how you confirm them.
Okay, I'll check there. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Lee, this is Carlos. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Great, thanks.
Okay. All right, so now we're going to go into match reports. Basically, the match report is a CSL report. It's a game report. What will happen is, this is new. They used to have you print them out straight away. Now they're going to email them to you on Friday mornings. What you'll do is you print out 3 copies of the match report. You bring it to your game. And also CSL will be testing the system. So you may end up with some rosters that are blank. But don't worry about it until Friday morning. Friday morning is when they're going to send you your 3 copies of your match report. And that will be for Saturday and Sunday. So you may have, if you have games on Saturday and Sunday, you may be printing out 6 copies. Okay, this is what it looks like. It will have the referee fees up in the top right. It will tell you what field you're on. It will tell you what division you're at, your time. The referee puts in the score, how many referees there were. And then in here are the cards. So there's a C as a caution. I had a lot of cautions in this game. And then you have goals, which one player scored 2 goals. Okay, and also had a red card. Wow. Exciting game. Okay. So any questions with regard to the match reports, the player list, the team administrator? Any questions on this? Okay, good. All right, so big thing here is know before you go. So what you want to do is check your game schedules the night before to make sure there are no changes. Especially the first couple of weeks, you'll find that the cities have changed the allocations, team can't play, whatever it is, just make sure you're very diligent about checking your schedule. Okay? There's an app that I'm going to show you in a bit, the Coast Soccer League app, that will give you awesome directions. It makes life very simple. You can also just go right on your schedule, click on the field, and it will give you directions. Once the season starts, typically we get into rain, and hopefully we will get into some rain, hopefully. But anyway, you click on the mud line, and it will tell you whether or not your field has a closure or not. We need to make sure that we have our mud line up and running. Bruce will communicate to the various people at each of the regions to make sure that that's covered. Because, again, we don't want teams coming to our fields if they're closed. Okay, so CSL, this is the 2nd year, they have a mobile app. So basically what you want to do is you want to have you and your parents basically down the CSL app. I've put it on the Facebook page, and I've also emailed it, and I know they've emailed it. So I did it the other day, and it's great. It's very, very simple to use. Basically, you'll click on schedules. You'll have your standings. It has a list of your venues if you want to find one. You can go into your teams, and you can select your team that you want to watch, and it will show you the results of your bracket, everything in your bracket, and obviously as well as your team. Also, if there's any changes in the schedule, it's supposed to notify you. So I would strongly recommend you and all your parents get this app. Okay. So basically, you're going to have to, as a team administrator, has to enter your name as it appears on the team admin, which is that list I gave before, which is under CSL Manager. It's got to be exactly like that. Then you're going to have an opportunity to select the team admin as your role, and then CSL will basically confirm that you are the team administrator, and you will be able to do things that the parents will not be able to do, and I'm going to show you what you can do.
So
okay?
Lee Catherine here again. I downloaded it. So you're right, it's great, it's easy. Doesn't have the mud line on there. Did you see it anywhere on there?
Basically, the season hasn't started yet, so what I imagine is going to happen is when you have a field, then it will tell you the mud line or it will tell you closures. We're just going to have to see. Each year they roll out something new, but I was at a meeting with them and they did say they were going to do something in the area of mud line this year. So it's new, and we'll have to see what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Okay?
Okay. Roger that.
Go to my team selection. No, that happens. Okay, so basically, as I told you, they're going to verify your name. Scorekeeping. So you're going to go to the scorekeeping menu. Now, whoever enters it first is who's going to enter it, who gets to enter it. So in other words, there are two teams. If one team, like let's say your opponent, enters the results before you do, you're not going to see that menu. It's going to already be up. Now, you want to confirm that the score is correct, and that if there's any yellow cards or red cards, that you make sure that it's correct. If it's not, the next slide will tell you what we're going to do. But anyway, what you're going to do is you're going to enter the goals for each team, for yours and theirs, the number of referees, and then whether there was any yellow cards, double yellow, which is a red card, whether it was given to any players or coaches. Okay? All right, so basically, as soon as you click that button and submit, the standings and scores are updated instantaneously. And again, you won't be able to edit it after you do it, so it's a one-time thing. Game results are sent to everyone that has that team chosen as their team. So all your parents will immediately get a notice that the PSC boys 12 team won their game. Okay, so if the other team or you make an error, you're going to contact your bracket scorekeeper or age coordinator, they're called, and basically that'll be on the actual website. I don't know if they're going to have those scorekeepers on the app, but it will be on CSL Manager, and there's a person that volunteers to basically kind of overlook and oversee their bracket. And you can volunteer if you want to do that as well. I don't think it's a very time-consuming thing. Okay, before I go forward, any questions on scorekeeping in the app? Okay, going forward. All right, so basically you can put a team photo onto not only your CSL mobile, but also in the CSL website. All you have to do is click on, this is again in your team admin, this is CoSoccer/manager. You're going to click on update team photo and you place a photo. Make sure that if you're using a PSC photo that it is with the proper uniforms, not the practice jerseys, but you want it to be either the white uniform or the blue official uniform. Okay, so basically Grant is going to be arranging the pickup of the bags and then the envelopes. And then he will arrange distribution. So usually he'll say for the South teams, he'll say I'm going to be here on this date, and then you can go pick it up. Or in the Northern teams, they'll say I'm here for this date, and you pick them up. We didn't have any really problems last year, so Grant will be your point person for picking up this stuff. Okay, so as a manager, what you want to have is a binder. You want to have your rosters in there, your player registrations. The most critical thing is that you have the AYSO registration form, which is also a medical release form, and the Cal South registration form, which is also a medical release form, and that you have one, if not both of them, signatured, wet signed by the parent. This is just in case anyone is injured and the parent is not there, that the child or the player can receive medical attention. So you want to make sure that you have all of those. You're the responsible party in this situation. Then you're going to have your match reports. Those are the 3, game reports. You may have 6, 3 for Saturday, 3 for Sunday. You have an envelope. Okay, the envelope you're going to give to the referee. Basically, the referee will keep one of the match reports, give you one match report, and give the other team one match report. They take it, fold it up, put the envelope into the mailbox. The envelope, if you're the home team, you need to have a stamp. It needs to be stamped. Don't have the referees have to go buy stamps. Okay, referee fees. If you're home or away on that schedule I showed you before, you have to pay. It's not the home team pays. It's both teams pay what's on that chart. And then obviously you need to have your player, coach, and admin passes or ID cards, called ID cards. Okay, and the normal is to have it you stamp it, you hole stamp it, and you put it on a ring. Okay, CSL has moved. They are now at this address, so if you ever do have to go down there for whatever reason, do not go to the one on Chapman. This is their new address, and again, you'll have access to this. Okay, any questions? Okay, good. We're winding down. All right, so this is game day. So now these are all the things that you want to look at from the day of the game. So you're going to go meet the referees in the very beginning. You're going to give the referee your player cards, your administrative cards. You're going to give them their fees in cash. Whoops. The home team will provide the addressed envelope and the postal stamp. The home team will provide 3 properly inflated soccer balls. Players are to be ready for check-in. Uniforms, every player must have a uniform number, including the goalkeeper. They're all to have shin guards. The socks, you're not supposed to have any colors on the socks, like no bands other than the color of the sock itself. No tape, no bands, just purely the socks themselves. No metal clips, earrings, necklaces. The only thing you can wear from a bracelet standpoint is a medical bracelet, and you usually wrap it. And sometimes they just kind of like leave a little bit of it open so that people know it's a medical bracelet. Players ought to be lined up. My recommendation is put them in numerical, get the players used to being in numerical order. That's how the roster is. That's how the referee will check them off. It's usually in numerical order. I don't know if they've changed it, but I imagine it's the same. Okay, so now we're getting into the kickoff. So basically, the technical areas for the coaches, that's 10 yards on either side of the halfway line. That should be only for coaches. The parents shouldn't be in there, because then you have a problem with the coaches trying to instruct and the parents instructing from the same place, and it confuses our players. So basically, leave the technical area for the coaches. We're all going to be on one side. You may have played tournaments where the coaches and players are on one side and all the parents and spectators are on the other. CSL, both teams are on opposite sides of the fields. Okay, so that means your team, your coach, your parents, your spectators, the players, you have one side, they have the other side. Home team chooses. Okay, spectators are to remain outside the technical area and 2 yards, so take 2 giant steps off the touch line. There's no reason for them to be on the touch line. Okay, and especially umbrellas. I've seen players go in. I've seen referees. I had a referee 2 weeks ago go right into an umbrella. She was fine, but bottom line is there's no reason for her to have had to have hit an umbrella. So you want to make sure umbrellas are also 6 feet off the touch line. It's for the safety of the players and for the referees. Spectators are also to be 18 yards from the goal line. Don't let them be in the penalty area, especially the youngers, because they're yelling and screaming. Can definitely create problems for the young players, and there's no reason for that. No spectators are allowed behind the goals except if you have stadium seating, and very rarely does that happen. What the referee will call for captains. Please don't put any more than 2. It's kind of a little bit unprofessional to have more than 2. They'll enter the field for the coin flip. The referee will have them introduce themselves, and basically they choose home or they choose which side they want to defend, or they get the kickoff, one of the two. Okay, substitutions are to enter at the halfway line. There's some coaches that will just start yelling substitutions, and then it takes too long because they don't know what their sub is. Just make sure that the coaches are prepared for substitutions. Our recommendation is make sure the players on the bench are wearing bibs or pennies. When they substitute off, they take the penny off. The player that comes off the field, you give the penny to them. Makes it very simple. Keeps everybody, all the players in line as far as how many players you have on the field and how many players you have off. When they warm up, when they have a penny, it's less distracting to the referees who are looking across the field for offside calls. So it's best to have pennies on them. After the game, you as a manager goes over to the referee area. Please don't. I mean, they have about 15 minutes between games, which is definitely better than tournaments. But you don't want to wait 15 minutes because they have another game to do. So you want to do it within a minute or two. Just go over to wherever their area is. This isn't a time to actually have any communication of like how terrible they did. It's their safe haven, so just please let them have their safe haven. They're getting ready for the next game. They're drinking water. So, if you're unhappy, that's fine. Just talk to Grant if you're unhappy with any referee crews, especially if it's a home crew, because he can then talk to the referee assigner and request somebody else. So anyway, basically all you're there to do is basically collect your ID cards, sign the report, and get a report. That's all you're there to do. And it's always nice to thank the referees because, especially when you're home, you will see them typically more than once. Okay, misconduct. Basically, if a player is first, yes.
Before you move on the you said about the different color bands and stuff on the socks. I believe the only thing to make an exception for some players, particularly the youngers, may wear the captain's band on the leg. That could be a different color.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So a captain band is if they wear it on their socks, that's fine. But that's the only one. Okay, good. All right, so then misconduct. So the key thing is remember our players will learn from the example we set. And I can't really stress that enough. Remember the coaches are there to educate and to instruct the players. So if you have a parent that's a little bit out of line, it's much easier for the team manager to go by and basically say, hey, remember, PI, positive, instructional, educational, keep it positive, good sportsmanship, whatever you have to say to your parents, but make sure you control it, because if the referee goes to the coach and says, can you control your parents, now we have a problem, because now the coach is going to say, I don't really pay attention to my parents. Which one is it? And then you end up with this argument that doesn't need to be there. So the best thing to do is, as a team manager, is make sure that you keep the parents in line. And that also means the coach too. So if you notice the coach is flipping out or getting, resentful or angry or whatever, just go over and just go, hey, let's just keep it positive. We're the adults. Let's set the right example. Okay. Be sure that any player who receives a red or double yellow card does sit out their next game as a minimum. Don't try to play the, oh, well, it's Saturday and he's on the roster on Sunday. They will find out, and it's not good. It's never happened to us, and I don't expect it's going to happen this year either. But the key is if they are on a red card, which is very rare for our club, if they are on a red card, just have them sit out the next game and then wait for CSL or Cal South to give sanctions, whatever those may be.
Lee,
I think that's
Lee, question for you on misconduct.
Yes.
Would you just explain to everybody how they actually do keep track of the number of points that goes against them and what will happen once they reach a certain number?
Yeah, I mean, basically, hold on, I'm just going to shut off my screen saving. I think, yeah, I did. Okay, so basically, with regard to, you have to get to a very high number, but CSL does keep track of yellow cards and red cards, and they end up being point deductions. I don't know what they are specifically because I don't think we've ever had a team get to that level. But basically, they will keep track of yellow cards and red cards, and there are points where you may not be allowed to play in League Cup if you reach a certain amount. again, it's not something that we ever have experienced, so
And we don't
not
want
particularly
to.
worried about it.
And we don't. And actually, when you, I think it's 21, they'll actually call you in and they'll have you sit down and explain why. So just so you're aware of
Right.
that. But before you get to 21, we're going to talk to you first.
Exactly. I'm not worried about it at all. Okay, so basically that was everything I had. So is there any questions that anybody has at this time? We only have 2 viewers, it looks like. So it's me and you, Bruce.
I think Jill's there. Aren't you there, Jill?
No, we're all still here looking at you, Lee.
I see everybody along the bottom.
Yes.
Quite a few.
Okay, yeah. On the bottom of my thing it says 2 viewers. So I thought it was me and Bruce.
Just
Anyway, okay, so all right, so no, I won't. So anyway, that's pretty much it. If there's anything, like I said, I'm going to post this so that you have access to it. If there's anything that comes up in the next couple of days, just you know who to call, and we hope you have a tremendous season.
Lee.
Really enjoy the kids.
Yeah, Lee. Question for everybody. Did you find this helpful?
Yes.
Good.
That was
Yes.
Catherine.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Took Lee some time to get this organized, but we wanted to make sure you were educated on the process, especially the new people.
Yes, it was very helpful. But Lee, let me know next time, and you can use my GoToMeeting and Bridgeline. It'll be much easier.
Yeah, that would. I wish I probably should have sent out an email asking everybody. I just want to go over a couple things. So Chris, Mike is muted. So Chris, yes, I'm going to put a copy of the presentation on our website, so you will have access to it. I'm going to see if I even can get this recording, or maybe edit it down and use what can be done. So yes, you will have access to this. Oh, good point. Carlos made a point about League Cup. There is no additional cost to League Cup. I would absolutely do it. You will, just so you know, League Cup, you will travel. I mean, you can travel some pretty heavy-duty distances. So, just understand that that's just the way it is. It's, make an outing of it, make a day of it. Okay, that's all the questions I see. I think we got everything covered. All right. So it took us 30 minutes even with the delays. I mean, an hour even with the delay, so that's not bad.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yep. Thank you, guys.